Hello and welcome back to Business Today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Viewers, today is the first show of New Year 2018. I hope you've all had a great holiday, and most importantly from the team of NTV, we want to say Happy New Year to everybody. Now, viewers, today's topic is something rather special and it's very close to our heart. We will be talking to two special guests here at the studio with us, who actually has been working very hard in putting a project together, and it's about preserving the history of Bangladeshi restaurants. Here in the UK, it goes all the way back to 1940, I understand, and we will be obviously finding out a bit more about the project. And I think it's a very important project, and with us we have the artist curator of the project, which is called Knights of the Raj, and we have Muhammad Ali to my left, and to my right I have a team member of the project, Mr. Shah Athar. Welcome onto the show.
Thank you, Muhammad. Thank you, nice to meet you.
Thank you. First of all, obviously, without further ado, I want to come to you guys and I want to ask you, can you please introduce yourself to our viewers, please?
Yeah, I can do, yeah. My name is Muhammad Ali, as you've said, but primarily I'm an artist. I've been working for around 15 years as a full-time artist. I know that's a strange thing to comprehend for many, but yeah, really it's not just a hobby on a Sunday afternoon, but this is what I do as a full-time thing. My background is from the restaurant trade originally, when my father had a restaurant. But now, of course, with the work that I do, I've curated this exhibition called Knights of the Raj. For the past 2 years I've been working on this.
Okay, excellent. And Mr. Shah Athar, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Shah, and I started off as a scientist working in a government laboratory, cutting up animals, doing all sorts of research, and got drawn back into the restaurant industry with my father and family, and just grew from there, basically.
Very interesting. We'll now come back to you on some of the questions from scientist to a restaurateur.
No problem.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyway, I understand, Mr. Muhammad Ali, you have an MBE from working in the arts. I bet that must have pleased your parents so much.
Yeah, I think so. I think, the kind of title of kind of getting a Queen's Honour and all of that kind of stuff, I think it particularly is something that interests our communities. So definitely, yeah, I can see how...
It's not easy to get it,
Yeah, there's a sense of kind of, when we're talking about immigrant communities, I think the impact it has when you're kind of almost embraced in that way, I can see how on a certain generation for sure, my parents' generation, that it had a massive impact on my parents and the community at large, because there's a sense of kind of feeling of, yes, you've made it. You've not just seen as this immigrant that sponges off the system, but you've been accepted and contributed, and you're recognised for that. Personally, for me, awards and things like that is not something I go seeking out.
It's all your hard work and reward, isn't it?
Yeah, as I said, for the sake of my community and family, etc., it's a great thing to be able to say, this is something that raises our aspirations a little bit. That any award is something that should be putting aside our own egos aside. It's for the also about kind of sake of our community to raise aspirations. Yeah. That whenever you win an award, being recognised for that is something that will uplift, another 100 other Muhammad Alis, for them to see themselves being represented. When you see almost a reflection of yourself, someone from your cultural background, someone who's got a similar narrative to you, that can only open doors for you and raise your game a bit.
Yeah, I understand you're quite renowned internationally for the work you do. And you've travelled to places like New York, Australia, South Africa, and many more countries. So please tell us a bit more about the work you did internationally.
Yeah, I mean, I originally started off as, I used to, believe it or not, a lot of people know this, but I worked in the games industry. As I said, I worked in the kind of creative sector ever since I did a degree in kind of multimedia, graphics, animation. And I worked making computer games, actually, the graphics for them.
Okay, interesting.
So that's, creativity has always been kind of the field I've been in. I tried to do everything else, I'm sure many of the viewers will be familiar with the kind of, be a doctor, be a scientist, be an engineer, and that kind of thing. Art, what is the value of that, right? And I can understand where they come from as well, by the way. I don't mean to dismiss that approach completely, because sometimes it was for economic kind of reasons of, the arts can sometimes not give you that stability, when it comes to finances. So I can understand why communities perhaps might be resistant to that, might worry that how are you going to make a living from it? It's not something that is easy. So I do understand that. But so what was your question?
The question was
About
the work you've done.
Yeah, just generally, yes. So from the games industry, I eventually gave up because I was working in this very kind of multi-million pound industry in the games sector, but I just got sick of it. I sitting behind a screen, designing computer games, and I felt,
That's a dream job, though, for some.
It is, people say, why the hell would you leave such an industry, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah. But I was sitting behind a screen, turning kids into zombies, right? That's the reality of the matter. Let's be straight.
I see what you
right.
What you
I mean, I worry now. My kids are, are on machines now. I'm trying to kind of control them. But the impact of gaming, I think it's not rocket science. Everyone knows that this is something that can really just you can lose your children into, in terms of, just killing kills their creativity even, in my view. It kills them kind of from discovering and learning and doing things that, we used to do growing up, but sadly now social media and technology and all of this stuff is kind of destroying some of
it is actually. You see a lot of kids nowadays, they're on their PS4 and, you're walking by and walking past, they can't tell what's happening.
That's right.
In the same room.
Yeah. So I eventually left that industry, and I felt like I needed a purpose really, and I became an artist, and I was painting murals. Most of my experience was from a young age painting graffiti murals. That's what I kind of became known for, and I'd be invited to different places around the world to paint giant murals, taking a building and painting that and transforming that into a piece of art. So that was great. I mean, I was doing that for easily around 10 years or so. And then I started kind of moving beyond that as well. And that's where I am today. I'm still involved with things like programming festivals and performances and doing even theatre productions. But this museum exhibition was kind of a part of that journey, my creative journey to tell stories is what I do through art, telling extraordinary stories about quite, extraordinary people.
You've been mentioned a few times in BBC and other channels. I've seen not only that you're quite well known, if you Google your name, you come up quite all on the first page, so you are quite popular in what you're doing. And for someone to take art and take it to that level from our community is hardly seen. So we really appreciate that, obviously. But I've also been told you were once invited by the Vatican to speak and present your work. Being a Muslim from an immigrant family, how did you find that, and how did that come about?
I was giving there's TEDx talks that you see online, and it was the first TEDx event that had taken place in the Vatican State. So I was invited to present and speak in front of 1,000 odd Catholics and people from around the world. And it was great really just to be in such a space as a Muslim as well. We're talking in the heart of the kind of the Catholic state, if you like, to be able to present what I do and share my ethos and spirit of my art and why I do what I do. And to be standing there, this, son of an immigrant from Sylhet, from a working class background, from the city, born and raised in the city of Birmingham. I still remember it was something that I felt like, wow, this is quite surreal. And actually, for me, it's about raising aspirations and kind of having vision that we are not limiting ourselves to kind of just exist within a certain sphere and a certain kind of, a place, and actually we can burst out and break out beyond that. And that breaking out isn't always just about financial as well. It's not about just making money and making big money, but it's also about being seen in certain spaces, about taking such buildings and having our story represented in museums, in city museums. So I think that vision and that kind of aspiration to be represented beyond the kind of margins of society is something that we as a community do struggle with, and Knights of the Raj is really kind of really trying to achieve that.
Excellent. Okay, now you're an artist, and that is not just painting, is it? How did your parents react to the fact that you want to become an artist?
As I mentioned earlier, I think art is our community. They often perhaps don't understand the value of it, right? Art, what is the benefit? painting, what can it do for society exactly? Other professions, you can kind of see how there might be some benefit to the world, but art is something that we aren't able to fully engage, and in a tangible way. What I mean by that is, you do a painting, where's the benefit from it? It's something that is quite out there, and you're not able to kind of track and say that resulted in that. But if you look deep and beyond that, what art can do, what level, you know, whether it's poetry, whether it's art, whether it's something visual you see or something you hear, a piece of music. So I'm talking about art in a broader sense. What it can achieve to changing the world we live in and changing society around us is something that we should never ever belittle in any way. And often we do, and we don't value that. So there is that criticism, that is lack of understanding and appreciation from our community, that art is key benefit for our society.
Art is everywhere.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. We need art, and a society without art is one very dark place, I tell you, and that's something that we as a community, we need to.
Your parents appreciate it now?
I think so, yeah, I think they do.
I'm sure they do. Okay. And obviously, we call it artists. What would you say you call yourself? What type of artist would you call yourself?
Well, I don't think I struggle with that myself these days, because you know, you're always evolving and changing and growing. So I might have been often referred to as a graffiti artist, and most people know me for that.
I know.
You put in my name, and graffiti artist is what will come up. But you know, I've been dabbling with theatre. You know, I've been dabbling with kind of live performance on stage, where it's a performance. And more recently, as you know, working in heritage and history. Still as an artist, I'm kind of going into the museum world and exploring with historical archives, but kind of turning that into a kind of, I always think that, you know, when your art is not definable, that can be the most exciting, when you can't quite pinpoint and say, that was a piece of music, that was a painting on a wall. What about when it becomes everything, and all of it is when it can be the most exciting.
Okay, we're just going to go to a break very soon. So before we go into the break, I'm just going to go into Mr. Shakir and ask you a question. You're in the quarry trade, but your educational background is totally different. Yeah. Right? You're actually a scientist. Can you please tell us a bit more about that, because that is really interesting.
Well, Ali Bhai's a little bit of a tough act to follow, to be honest, but I'll try my best. Well, I had a passion for the sciences, and my father, like Ali Bhai said, I think was one of those that's pushed their sons to be doctors and accountants and so on. So I did have a look at the medical trade, but then realised the side of blood isn't for everyone, to be honest. So I went down the forensic molecular biologist sort of research route, and it was quite enjoyable.
Okay.
I ended up working in a veterinary laboratories agency in a secret government facility, doing mad cow disease research.
Do you mind if I can go into the break, and then we're going to come back and join again?
No problem.
Viewers, stay tuned please, and see you after the break.